Hi guys, welcome back to another week of chart review. So let's dive directly into the chart reviews for this week. So the first stock is SALCON. SALCON has been sideways for quite some time. From over here, 235 is the high, and then the low is about here lah, 0.18. Thing is currently attempting to break out from the kind of like a sideways trend that they have. The volume is pretty big lah, okay, the volume is pretty big here, but you can see the candle is actually a bit undecided whether it wants to continue going higher or lower. So I think the sellers and buyers are quite equilibrium here. You will need to wait some time to see whether these are actually really buyers lah and going to push the stock go higher or not, okay. But looking at the volume here, the volume has increased actually. Okay, here the volume looks not bad, then it's consolidating sideways. Here the base, the volume is quite low, and then there's some volume over here before the quarter report came up. Okay, so I think you need to give some time. You need to be a bit patient with the stock to see whether it's really there's a bullish trend behind it, or is it just pump and dump lah. Okay, you need to bear in mind that it's also a kind of a penny stock. Okay, next one is KTC. I think there is some trend in KTC. Okay, there may be some news boiling behind it, because if you see from here, the attempted breakout one over here, okay, and attempted to break out 0.27, then it didn't manage to. Okay, it came back down, and the base is most likely here lah, 0.225. okay, so if you monitor the volume from here until here, the entire basing period, the volume has been quite low. But recently, if you look at it, the volume has been coming in now. Okay, there has already been the first attempt to break out of 0.27. Okay, so if you look at it in a manner of a higher low, there's already one, the first low, then a higher one, then this is like a higher low again lah. Okay, so there is a possibility there may be something going on behind it, yet to discover lah. Okay, so just give it some time. I think this one not bad, because you see this one, even though high volume down, and then when it creates the base, the volume is decreasing until here. Then here the high volume comes in, like it's attempting to break out lah, but it hasn't yet. Okay, so there may be something behind KTC. Okay, next MYEG. I think the resistance there is quite stubborn. Doesn't seem like it's breaking. If you look at the chart, is literally sideways over here with the resistance over here where the stock is not able to break out from. Okay, it has hit the support 3 times and also the resistance 3 times. So it may trade in a box range for temporarily lah. Okay, until there is some catalyst behind it which is able to push the stock to go higher. Okay, at the moment doesn't seem like there's any lah. It seems like it's just really sideways. Even the volume is about that range only. Okay, LEFORM. I think there is something here also, but you need to be a bit cautious, because it seems like it's facing with quite some kind of heavy resistance at 0.25. Okay, so if you look at the stock throughout here, you compare the volume over here, it has been quite low. Subsequently, it climbed higher one day, and it has been quite high compared to previous. Okay, so I think here the average volume here of 10 days is about 40 over million, while in the past is about 3 to 4 million. So there is a possibility that there is something with LEFORM lah. Okay, and you need to know that it's an IPO stock. This may be the first base that it's building since IPO, and it hasn't broken out from the base yet. Okay, so this may be LEFORM's time. Okay, in terms of support and resistance, I think this obviously will be a resistance because it has hit so many times, and your support should be here lah. Okay, it may come back to retest the previous resistance over here before attempting to go higher, but that depends on the stock lah. Okay, because the volume that came in is quite high lah, quite aggressive lah, the volume. Okay. Next is JCY. Okay, JCY actually broke out over here with a high volume. Okay, if you look at the chart, it's something like this lah. Okay, and then this is the resistance, and it broke out from here. Okay, so it went higher, and after it went higher, it actually retested the previous resistance of about 0.195. Okay, and then it's climbing higher lah. Okay, so to me, I think the chart looks quite good. The resistance definitely over here. Okay, already here on Friday, and didn't close near it. Sorry, I mean close very near it, and it has already tested the previous resistance over here lah. Okay, so Since it has already hit some resistance over here, and this resistance is like from this year's February, there may be some form of resistance over here, so it may do a pullback before attempting to break out from there again lah. Okay. There are a few ways to look at the chart. One is, if you look at here, it looks a bit like an inverse head and shoulders. Another one, it can be a rounding bottom over here. Okay, and if let's say it does decide to form a pullback, then you may see a cup and handle over here lah. Okay, it may lah. So there are quite a number of ways to look at JCY, but generally I think the chart is quite bullish. There is some form of momentum, and the uptrend is there lah. Okay, you can see all higher lows and higher highs being formed, which is a good thing. Okay, next is WIDAD. I don't really have much comments for this stock. I think from the previous time that someone asked to review this chart, I don't really have much to comment lah. Okay, because it's really it really just continues going higher without forming a base, which is not a good thing. So stocks which just continuously go higher without forming a base, when they come down, it comes down in a very aggressive manner lah. Okay, another example is CFM. Okay, you can see over here, you know, it's like going up, then jump up, come down, form one base over here, and just continuously going up and come back down. This one, the shares float is extremely little lah, 129 million only. I think this one is also another example, which I think I used it also. It just continues going up, and when it comes down, it just jumps down like this. I think this one is another example previously. Okay, it decided to go up, then just zap down like this. Okay, and it continues. So I think WIDAD is something similar lah. So I don't really have much to comment. But these two sell downs were definitely very scary lah. So I'm not so sure whether most of the funds are already out of the stock or not. Okay, we'll need to monitor and see lah. In terms of chart, I think currently it's trying to form a base around the 200 days moving average in an attempt to rebound back. So you will need to see whether you will be able to continue moving higher or not lah after this base. Okay, next will be QES. QES is generally still in a downtrend. Okay, we just try and draw the trend line now. You may get something like this lah. Okay, or if you want something nicer, you'll get something like this. Okay, so you can see that it's currently in a downtrend, and this is actually the support long ago lah. Okay, from here itself, it kind of formed some resistance, changed into support, and this is one support, and now it just broke slightly below the support lah. But you need to bear in mind that on Friday afternoon session, there was a lot of volume coming in for technology counters. Okay, so there may be a possibility that technology may be on the trend next week, in accordance with Nasdaq also lah. Okay, Nasdaq I think is going up quite high. But I will leave the Nasdaq review inside my case study video. Okay, so for QES, it is kind of still forming lower low and lower high. I don't think it's out of the woods yet until it's able to prove itself lah. Okay, so support and resistance I think remains the same. I believe this support is actually quite valid lah. Okay, even though it kind of broke down a bit, maybe it's a washout attempt, or it's just forming a lower low. Okay, TEXCHEM. The sudden spike in volume is something to question lah. Okay, I'm not so sure because I think the recent quarter report also is still losing money lah. Okay, but there may be some news stimulating such a high volume coming in for 2 consecutive days. However, you need to bear in mind that on the first day, a volume of about 1 million only came in, and the size of the candle is about 8% lah, about 8%. 6.5 cents. Okay, but on the second day there was about 1.8 million. It actually gapped up, so if we count from here, there's only about 6 cents lah. Okay, but the volume is about almost double, but the size is about the same. So you need to consider and see is the 1.8 million volume really fully biased, or is it, you know, half-half? Okay, that's something that you need to consider and see lah. Okay, but in terms of support and resistance wise, I think this is definitely the support. It may have actually found bottom, and this was the previous resistance lah. Okay, at this zone over here, 0.94, you can see over here. And the next resistance most likely will be what the previous support was lah, at about 1 ringgit. Okay, next is AXIATA. AXIATA definitely doesn't look good. This support is already broken. Okay, it's kind of attempting to break higher from the support, which I think will turn into a resistance now. Okay, so definitely not looking good. It's forming lower lows and lower highs along the way lah. Okay, you can see, wow, since 2015 it has actually been going lower and lower. My daily chart can't even get everything. Okay, we take the weekly chart and you can see it's something like this lah. Quite following the trend line as well. Okay, so generally I don't think it's good. I don't think I can really comment on a support and resistance place. It's more or less like this is the previous support, which may turn into a resistance. This is the current support, but if you know it doesn't go higher, then it will just become another level which turns into a resistance later lah, when the stock tries to climb higher. Okay, HEVEA. Okay, I think this one is something to do with fiber board. I think so lah. So if you look at HEVEA, I think it's wood related. Okay, so this is definitely the support level 0.325, and this will definitely be your resistance level lah. Okay, 0.345. If you ask me, I think it's currently just moving sideways lah. Okay, and there are few attempts to actually break out from this sideways trend. Okay, so it's currently forming higher lows. Okay, you can see it's kind of forming higher lows here, and the pullback volume is quite low, but you notice that actually no lah, pullback volumes has been quite low actually. There may be something good lah. Okay, the quarter report is here. It's about middle of September, I assume, and currently I think the volume attempting to break out from this level looks pretty good. Okay, HEVEA, I think it looks pretty good. There may be some bullishness momentum. Okay, there may be some bullish momentum behind it, and with the quarter report coming out, the quarter report may be good. Okay, this is just speculation. I have no idea whether it's true or not. Okay, but looking at the volume coming in and the amount of volume coming in to attempt to break out is actually looking good lah. Okay, in addition to that, I think the 50 days moving average is already cutting up through the 150 days moving average, and may soon attempt to go above the 200 days moving average, which of course is something bullish lah. Okay, so I think HEVEA it may have some bullishness behind it. Okay, and it may have found bottom lah. Okay, MNG. I think the last I reviewed this also, I mentioned that it's actually already at where the uptrend line is, the channel is, but doesn't really seem like it's going to continue uptrend within the channel lah. Okay, it looks more like it's going to go sideways first. It's going to consolidate first, then only it may go higher, because currently if you look at the trend, it's sideways. The volume also kind of reduced already. In terms of previous, look at this volume going high, it's like 224.5 million, but if you look at this candle, it's only about 10 million, so there isn't so much of volume coming in now. Okay, the trend may be just sideways for some time first. Okay, in terms of support and resistance, I think it's exactly the same as previously, so no changes lah. Okay, so next will be SWIFT. SWIFT had some momentum last week. Okay, quite a strong one actually, quite a strong momentum. It's currently facing some resistance here. Okay, at 0.56, which was the most recent resistance that he found lah. Okay, at 0.56. So you can see that the current support is about here. This is the base. It's kind of like this is like a hammer lah. Okay, this is like a hammer which actually didn't the body didn't cover the previous day's body, which is a good thing. Then this high volume is actually attempting to break up from this resistance level of about 0.56. Okay, so it's kind of like forming a cup over here, and if let's say not able to break this, most likely it will do like a pullback and form like a cup and handle lah. So it will be something maybe like this. Okay, so you need to monitor and see, but generally I think there is some trend in this stock now lah. Okay, PERDANA. PERDANA is actually a commodities counter. It's oil and gas counter. Okay, you need to follow with UK oil prices. Last I checked UK oil, I don't think it's that bullish. I think when the stock market goes higher, the oil counters, the oil prices don't seem to follow much lah. Okay, but I'm not so sure the oil prices actually follow based on what economy, because that's not where I'm good in lah. Okay, but generally I think PERDANA, putting the oil prices aside, I think the trend is quite strong. Okay, let me just explain why. Over here you see like a cup. okay, to this level of 0.26. Okay, it so happens is also the previous resistance over here lah. Resistance. Okay, so you see it's actually quite nice over here. Okay, like this lah. Okay, and when it comes over here, the volume is not that bad, but the volume on 2 recent days is actually pretty good lah. Okay, it's actually slightly above the 10 days volume average. So I think there may be some trend going on here. Okay, with the support at about this level, it may be coming out of this box lah. That means maybe finish correction and pullback already. Okay, so just remember it's a commodities counter, and you need to always look back at your oil prices lah. Okay. Okay, next is RAMSSOL. For RAMSSOL, I think it's short term is downtrend lah. Okay, it already cut below the 50 days moving average. But the good thing is the pullback volume is getting lower and lower lah. Okay, if you look at it, it's getting lower. This definitely is the new support. Looks like lah. Okay, looks like a new support because kind of like a double bottom over here, and the previous support was about this zone 0.39 to 0.4. So if you look at it on a large scale, it's something like this lah. Okay, one cup breakout, then like this. Okay, so if you ask me, I think generally it's still on an uptrend. It's kind of sideways now with quite high selling volume lah. Okay, it kind of attempted to break out over here if I'm not wrong. Okay, with quite high volume, but it failed. Okay, so it will do some pullback consolidation first before it actually attempts to go higher. The downtrend line is still valid. Seems like the stock hasn't really attempted to break out from it, and yeah, I think it's still quite far lah, the downtrend line. Okay, so for RAMSSOL, I think you need to give some time to the stock to see whether it is actually just a pullback or it's actually bye-bye lah. Okay, I think you will need some time first. Okay, T7 Global, I think it's also oil and gas related, but most of the time it's not as sensitive as the other counters when the oil prices move up or down. Okay, it's not as sensitive as hibiscus and stuff like that lah. Those are more of the mainstream counters. Okay, this one is really just sideways. I don't think there's much to see in the counter. It's literally just sideways until it really decides to go for one of the directions lah. Okay, other than that, it's really just sideways. Okay. Okay, S&FCAP, I also don't think there's anything much to review over here. I think the counter is generally just sideways. Just move below the 50 days moving average and out of the uptrend channel lah. Okay, for me, I think there's nothing much to review over here lah. Okay, if there is a breakout, then I think you can look back lah. Other than that, nothing much to see. Okay, WCT. Okay, so this one has a trend, but it's currently moving sideways. You see the trend was over here, it was going up, and until here it actually broke down. Okay, it closed here. The next day it actually gapped down, opened, attempted to go higher, closed the gap, and then came back down already. Okay, so also not looking very good. Then if you observe the volume over here, yeah, trend line. Okay, we observe the volume over here is kind of reducing while the stock is kind of stabilizing. Okay, so I think that's a good indication that there's not so much of selling anymore over here. Okay, but this stock will need some patience lah. Okay, you will need to actually settle down, base down first before it actually attempts to go higher. Okay. Okay, next YBS. I have this inside one of my case studies also for the upcoming week. Generally, I think YBS is still under the clouds in terms of moving averages. Now, moving averages are not really agreeing with each other. That means it's kind of like sideways lah. Okay, don't know whether want to go up, don't know whether want to go down. Okay, so 50 days is below the 200 and 150, but the 150 is above the 200 lah. Okay, but if you look at the chart, I think there is a formation of a double bottom over here. Okay, like this. Okay, there is some formation of double bottom over here. Why I included inside my case study was because I think there is an attempt to break out from this bottom. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is YBS may have found its bottom lah. Okay, so this is the resistance, this is the bottom. So you see it came up and over here. Okay, so this is your first resistance at 615 and your second resistance is at about 625 lah. And so far I see like it's able lah to actually break. The volume has been quite high also compared to previously. Okay, so I think YBS is chart looks quite good. Support and resistance is as what you see on the screen now. Okay. Okay, K1, I don't think there's anything much to review over here. I think K1 became quite hot during the COVID era, with them saying like, you know, K1 is doing some stuffs which are related to COVID equipments. Okay, that was the only time it actually reached about 70 cents. I think that was what, all-time high? Yeah, all-time high lah. Okay, other than that, I don't think there's any trend in K1 lah. Okay, it's really kind of just sideways, and longer term I think I see there's a downtrend lah. Okay, you can look at it over here. It's kind of just downtrend lah. Okay, so I don't think there's anything much to review. LKL is one counter that I don't understand, because if you look at this, I can't understand how they can lose money lah. Okay, to be honest, I really don't. Because as far as I know, LKL actually deals a lot with hospitals, because they are one of the only companies which do the hospital beds, the hospital you know, the bedside, there's a cupboard over there. Yeah, that's what they do as well. And they also do those emergency trolley casings. They actually do a lot of things which are supplied to hospitals, and no matter whether you come from the private or government sector, it's all from LKL lah. So the fact that the price of the stock is just about 18 cents is a big question mark for me. But I don't think I'm gonna dive deep into what how the company earns and stuff lah. Okay, I think it's generally sideways over here. Okay, if you look here, I think this is sideways. Okay, this one I think just attempted to break out from the resistance of 0.175, but there's a huge gap for it to close here at 235. Until it has some follow through days, I don't think you can consider it as coming out lah. Okay, but yes, I agree that there has been some volume coming in, and there may be some news or something brewing behind lah. Okay, but if not, then generally it's just sideways lah. Okay, I don't know what was the company's price in the past. Okay, it was extremely high, 15 ringgit, but now it's currently at 18 cents. It's a bit illogical, but the stock market is always right lah. Okay, NAIM, I think this is a construction counter. If you look at the counter, currently it's touching to the 150 days moving average, and it's still uptrending lah. Okay, if you look at it on the longer time frame, for me it's still uptrending over here. Okay, this thing, but currently not able to form a new high lah. Okay, a higher high. Currently, if you look at the chart, it looks something like this lah. Okay, just going down, and maybe within this triangle lah. Okay, that means it's still forming. In the long term, it's still forming a higher lows, but in the short term, it's forming lower highs along the way. Okay, so I think you will need to give some patience to the stock. I think volume has also pretty much dried up. The rallying volume doesn't seem to be that high at the moment, so something which will take some time lah. You need some patience to see which direction the stock wants to go to lah. Okay. Okay, next is ASDION. I think this stock suddenly became hot last week, and I think I also received some requests to review it. That means not last week, last 2 weeks I think. Okay, there was a high volume going up, and then like I mentioned, I don't really see much potential in the counter, because there has never been that high volume coming in suddenly and staying on. Okay, even if you look at here, the volume just came in and then kind of disappeared like, it's like a gap down. Okay, so at the moment I wouldn't say like, you know, it's definitely going down or what. Okay, but you can see that the trend is actually down lah. Okay, I think the previous resistance from breakout is actually here, 0.035. I'm not so sure whether it will retest it or not, but the up here was so drastic that it actually moved the 50 days moving average immediately lah. Yeah, because previously there is basically no price movement at all. Okay, so it has tested 0.06 now, which is what the previous levels resistance is lah. Okay, so I think you need to see what happens to the stock lah. Okay, you need to give some time. Oh, Fitters. I don't have much to comment on the stock, because I don't think there is any movement in the stock. Okay, it has been sideways for an extremely long time, and if you look at the the long term is downtrend lah. Okay, it's definitely moving down lah. So if you ask me, I really don't have anything to comment unless there is some news behind it which is helping it move. Okay, so your support is definitely here 3.5 and your resistance is here lah. Okay, 4.5. Okay, SYSTECH. I think SYSTECH rallied quite a lot already lah, honestly. Okay, you can see like, you know, it's a few cup formations over here. We call it BCP lah. Okay, like this, then like this. Okay, then it broke out. So I think from breakout level until where it is today, it has moved up about 50%. Okay, so you can't expect the stock to continue going up without having a pullback lah. So for me, I think it has come down for a pullback first. But the pullback has been quite drastic lah. Okay, I think, let me see, from its high, it has pulled back to about 20%, 25 I think, if I count the most recent low lah. Okay, so I think it's still pulling back, but the volume seems to be quite high. That means there's quite a lot of selling done over here lah. Okay, we will need to see what happens to the stock first before you can actually make a decision lah for here. Okay, I think the support and resistance stays the same. You may have a new resistance over here at about 0.615 to 0.62, whereas your support, I think you can be looking at about here lah, 0.46. Okay. Okay, moving on to the next stock, PUNCAK. PUNCAK had quite a rally over here actually. I wouldn't say this is an exhaustion gap at first, but now it looks like yes lah. Okay, so it kind of had a strong rally up here, then, you know, trap some sellers over here and then push it back down. Okay, that's what I see from here lah. Currently it's actually flirting around with the 50 days moving average. Sorry about the sound effect. There's actually thunder at my area now. So if you look at this, it looks more like down quite sharp, and it's kind of attempting to rebound. This is your resistance at 37, and then I think it may form a cup over here lah. Okay, but your resistance is definitely at 37, which so happens to be the previous time where a gap up actually occurred. In terms of trend, I feel it's still uptrend. You see this is one low, then another higher low, and this is also a higher low lah. Okay, in terms of trend, I think it's still higher lows. I'm not so sure whether you want to consider it as higher highs or not. Let's see if we draw a channel lah. Let's say we take this and we pull it like this. It looks not bad lah. So I think it may just hover around here before it actually attempts. I mean, it will still be in the channel lah. You know, it will kind of trade around in the channel lah. Okay, until the channel is broken lah, one of it. Okay. Okay, SKBSHUT. I don't think the trend is really back here first. I don't think the trend is back here yet. If you look at this high volume over here, then the next day, kind of similar volume, but kind of red candle lah. Okay, and the candle size actually is almost the same. Because you need to remember that this candle is combining the buying and also selling volume. Where else, yeah, it's actually a buyers and also sellers. So with this volume, this one has actually gone up this much, but this one actually gone up here, and you can see it opened here, went up here, and gone down here. So I believe there is more effort on the seller side compared to the buyer side lah. Okay, so resistance level I think stays the same. Uptrend line I think is still kind of intact, the short term uptrend line lah. Okay, I think you can adjust it to something like this. But you will need to see whether you'll be able to break out or not lah. Okay, volume needs to start drying up, which has actually happened here. So it may be quite constructive now to form something like a cup and handle over here. But this handle is a bit too low lah. Okay, so it may be just trading within this triangle over here. I think this stock needs some patience lah to see which direction that you really wants to go. Okay, next is LYC. I honestly don't think there's much to review in this counter. If you look at this one, horizontal line 0.18, this one resistance is 0.225 lah. Okay, I think the resistance is pretty valid because you see on this day low volume came up to here. Next day high volume tried to push up higher, but then actually closed lower, and since then it's about here lah. Okay, so you need to monitor and see, is this going to become like a new base for the stock? If it does, then you'll be good lah. Okay, that means you have a new higher low already. Okay, you'll be having a higher base. But if it doesn't, then of course you will go sideways again lah. Okay. In terms of trend wise, I think it's actually attempting to come out from the downtrend it already had for quite some time lah. Okay. Next counter is day 3. I also featured day 3 in one of my case studies. I think the chart is quite interesting, and I believe there is a possibility that the stock may have bottomed already. Okay, because we look at the chart, you know, from the high, you know, it opened here, ran up to about 0.73 and continued going lower until about this zone. Okay, so you can see that this is a very nice hammer pattern which formed during a downtrend, where the body did not touch with the previous day's body, and ever since it has never gone below this level lah. Okay, it has only rallied higher. Personally, if you ask me, this was quite a solid base consolidation before a breakout, because you can see here is quite low volume, and then it started rallying higher with better volume. The red candle days also has been coupled with pretty low volume. Okay, so generally I think it's pretty constructive. This is the previous highs, because you can see the chart looks something like this, come down and attempt to rally, then come down back down. So this will be your resistance. Okay, so this resistance I think is going to be some trouble, because this one also, you know, attempted to hit and then came back down. So if let's say this level becomes a cup, a rounding bottom, then it may just pull back lah. Okay, it may just do a pullback, form a handle before it attempts to go higher. Okay, so that's for day 3. Next is EATECH. So EATECH had quite a strong rally previously here. Okay, high volume and actually ran up high. I think it was also one of my case studies, because nice pattern forming during a bearish sentiment market. So this is like a cup and handle lah. Okay, and then it kind of rallied high and it reached this high. Since then it hasn't been able to break the high, but one thing to note is that the volume past few has been reducing lah. Okay, so you look at this, the volume has been on a reducing trend, while the stock is actually not going lower. Okay, that means it's actually consolidating and pulling back, forming a base, which is actually a good thing to have. So if let's say this base is valid, then you will likely re-challenge the recent resistance quite soon lah. Okay, as the volume is already quite low here. Okay, next UEMS. UEMS is actually a construction counter lah, more to construction and property counter. It will very much depend on the construction team. Okay, if there is the team still there, then of course there may be a chance you will rally lah. Okay, I think UEMS is also quite related with the projects in Johor. So there's a possibility it may be news related and stuff like that. But if you look at it on the chart base, this one is actually quite a nice candle, because it attempted to break out from 825, but then it didn't manage to. And this also coincidentally happens to be the downtrend lines area. Okay, so I think there may be some bullish trend over here attempting to break out. But all in all, it will depend whether the construction team is back or not. Okay, if there is a construction team, then I think UEMS would rally. And I realized that usually during construction counter rallies, UEMS tend to be one of the first to rally. Okay, so that's something to observe lah. Okay, next is MRCB. I think currently it's more to sideways already lah. Okay, it's not able to form a higher high. Okay, consecutively forming lower highs along the way, and the lows are also lower already lah. Okay, if you see here, okay, you will see something like this lah. Okay, I prefer this. Okay, you will see something like this. Okay, so it's kind of already forming a lower lows in a downtrend channel, which is of course not a good thing to have. But like I say, construction counter is really dependent on the construction team. If the team is in play, most construction counters will actually do well. So you will need to monitor lah and see, okay, whether the team is there or not for the construction side. Support and resistance wise, I think it's the same lah. Okay, end to end, again, I don't think there's anything much to review over here. I think since the first time I was asked to review this counter, it has been trading within this range, and I don't see that it's going to attempt to break out or it's going to attempt to break down. Okay, it's more of just sideways over here. Even the volume is not even 100k. This is 200k, and most of the days is 70 to 100k only. Okay, So it's generally no volume at all lah. Okay, nobody is kind of like interested in the counter for now. Okay, so I don't have much to comment now. Okay, VELESTO, it's a oil and gas counter, but you need to know that the shares float for this counter is 7.53 billion, which means you literally in easy layman language is you need a very heavy volume. You need a lot of volume to actually be able to push the stock up. Okay, because the queue for the buyers and sellers will be quite high. Okay, so in terms of chart wise, I think generally it's in a sideways trend now. Okay, not now, like it has been sideways for quite some time. You also depend on the oil and oil prices lah. Okay, the volume is a bit erratic lah. Okay, on days it's high, on days it's low, so you need to observe this and see lah. Okay, XINHWA, also I think sideways. I don't think there's much to see here. Okay, there's this one high volume coming in for one day, but subsequently there's no follow through. Okay, look at this, one day 6.3 million and the next day only 1.8k. So basically there's no follow through at all. Okay, basically almost zero volume. Nobody literally traded in the counter. Okay, so it's basically just sideways. Support and resistance is the same as what I've drawn in the chart, and I don't think there's much difference lah. Okay, I don't think there are any changes to it as well. It's just literally sideways. KOMARK, also I reviewed previously, and I don't really think there's much to review over here, much to comment. The shares consolidation here actually didn't help the stock either. It seems like it's still downtrend, going lower than before it consolidated, which is something that rarely happens lah. Okay, so it's kind of going lower. I don't know whether it's actually attempting to form a base over here or not, in an attempt to rally higher or not, but as of now it looks like it's going downtrend lah. Okay, and I really don't have much to review for this counter. Okay, next is SAMAIDEN. I think SolarVest had quite some movement on Thursday, Friday, but generally RE counters, I don't think they are on an uptrend yet lah. Okay, as for SAMAIDEN, I think it's still forming lower lows. A bit quite high volume on Friday, but it can be considered as a technical rebound lah. Okay, it hasn't really reached the previous downtrend line, and it hasn't also broken the previous lower high. Okay, so I think the stock will need some time to actually come back up if let's say the trend is really there lah. Okay, in terms of support and resistance, I don't think anything has changed. You can just add one support over here like at about 1.06. Okay, SCOMNET next. Again, I think this is sideways. I don't think there's much trend over here. It's really, you know, some volume pushing it up, and then it comes back down, and then it goes back up again, comes back down, goes back up, comes back down within a small same rectangle area lah. Okay, so I think you will need some patience to see where the stock can actually go. Okay, because of course it can't be forever sideways. It will eventually take a side. Okay, it's either the bullish or bearish side. So it can be like this and then go up, or it can be like this and then it goes down. Okay, so it can be either way. There's nothing much to comment lah for a sideways chart. You just have to wait lah. Okay, AEMULUS, it was sideways, but I think it's no longer looking that good. I think it has formed a new low. Okay, generally if you look at the trend line from here, okay, this was the previous one, then it's literally just going down lah. I don't think it has found bottom yet, even though it was sideways for so long time, but it hasn't actually bottomed lah. Okay, okay, the volume is quite high on Friday, but you need to take note that all tech counters had pretty high volume on Friday itself. Okay, so not something very unusual, since there are so many people, there are so many other counters which actually also had high volume. Okay, and until and unless it's able to break the previous high, I don't think the stock has come out from the woods yet lah. Okay, I don't know what to comment on this counter. I don't see any trades from here until here. I don't know what happened to the counter, whether no one wants to look at the counter, or even through some PN17, or okay lah, probably this lah. Okay, so from May until now, I don't see anything, any movement, and all of a sudden it moves. I got no comments. I don't know how to review a chart like this lah. So sorry. So yeah, I don't have much comments lah. You just need to give some time for the chart to have some data lah. Okay, Capital A, I think Capital A wants to go listing in Nasdaq in the US sector, US side. I don't know how good that will turn out for the company. But looking at it, it's already forming lower low and lower high lah. Okay, it's kind of going lower. I don't think it looks that good for me lah. Okay, yeah, I think it's pretty accurate, this one, this trend line over here. Okay, we can ever take this one, it's still going lower, and this one also you can see it's already forming a lower low lah. Okay, so generally capital A don't look good. AX also I don't think is that good. Of course, the trend looks better than capital A, but it's also going down lah. It looks like it's going south. Okay, the volume on selling is quite high. The volume going up is not bad lah. Okay, so it may attempt to actually form a base over here, which happens to be a previous resistance area before it broke out lah. Okay, so need to look and see what happens to the counter. Give it some time and see where it plays out lah. Okay, support and resistance I think is the same, or is whatever that has been displayed in this picture lah. Okay, HARTA glove counter. So like I mentioned before, I think HARTA is the only glove company, and HARTA and Kosan are the only glove companies where the technical chart looks better lah. Okay, compared to the rest, I think it's better. HARTA looks like it's forming multiple cups. Okay, you can see first one is here, then the second correction, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one. Now it looks like it's attempting for the sixth one, although it actually just broke the low of the previous cup lah. Okay, so it actually broke, but it didn't close below lah. So I think it's good. It's kind of like I believe it's a washout lah. Okay, so now it's actually attempting to go back higher to actually test the resistance line again. And yeah, for me I think the chart looks quite good lah. Okay, but you need to be aware that the quarter report is coming out soon, and I have no idea what the report is going to show. Okay, it can be good, it can be bad. It totally depends on the company, because I really don't know what is happening on the glove industry now. Okay, but of course, glove forever will have people using lah. Okay, so I think you need to wait and see. It's actually really very hard to judge the quarter report of glove counters. You look at this, you know, it's it looks quite good, and it moved a bit lower, then rallied. This one, I think it lost, but I think it was improving, I think, so it rallied. And then here, it's like okay, but you know, then it continued coming down, not much movement, so you can't really guess lah, okay, to be honest. So I think for HARTA, you have to wait and see lah what happens to the glove industry. Okay, next is tech bond. I don't think there's much interest in tech bonds, especially in terms of the trend. I wouldn't really, I don't think it's really like a cup and handle also. I think it's just, or in a long term maybe yes. Yeah, long term maybe a kind of a cup and handle formation over here, starting from here to here. But other than that, I think the volume now is not bad. It's like there is some volume coming in now. Okay, it's not so dry like previously, but I think you really need to see what happens to the stock, because I don't think the stock got much follow through days, in a sense that you see high volume coming in here, then the next day dry, then 2 days volume, then dry, you know, like there's no follow through days coming in, which is something kind of suspicious lah, if you ask me. So I think you need to give some time to the stock to actually prove itself first lah. Okay, next MTAG. So if you look at MTAG, wow, MTAG is still sideways. I don't think there's any changes from the previous one. I think it's generally still sideways, and nothing much for me to comment. Okay, the breakdown and everything, then it still comes back to the upper box, so I don't think there's much changes. This is not the PTRB that we are looking for. Let's add this and just remove. Wait, so we go add it into the case reviews. Okay, so PTRB, I think it's still finding some base, although the volume has kind of dried up, but it has not been able to form a higher high nor a higher low lah. Okay, so generally if you look at the channel line, I think it's still moving downwards. I think it's still moving south, and I think I will need some time before it's actually able to come back to where it previously was lah. Okay, in terms of the moving averages, I think they are a bit lost, because if you see the 200 days moving average is above, the 150 days average is below, and the 50 is going down. So if the 50 crosses below the 150, I think things are not looking so good for PTRB already lah. Okay, so in terms of support and resistance, I don't think it has changed from the previous review lah. Okay, Synergy. Wow, sorry, I think I accidentally added this. Let me just remove. Okay, Synergy is good. Okay, I think someone requested for a chart review previously, and I also did mention that it looks good. Okay, so if we put it in the terms of a story, it looks like there's a rounding bottom over here. Okay, then it broke out the next day with a high volume. Okay, then subsequently it came back down to retest. Okay, retest this level, and then you can see that from this level until here, it's all low volume, and then high volume came to break out from this level and continue going higher. So take note that Synergy is actually a IPO from this year. There is currently no resistance for the stock, so for stocks like this, we will say sky is the limit lah. Okay, so I don't have much to comment because it is generally very bullish, and I cannot really give you where is the next support and resistance. But if let's say you're a Fibonacci user, you can actually use Fib retracement. So sorry, let me use the other way. So if this is your resistance and you pull out to here, you will get something like this lah. Okay, this one, then this will be where your other levels are. But this is purely just Fibonacci retracement lah. Okay, not using the chart patterns. Okay, so yeah, that's for Synergy lah. Okay, SCGBHD, I don't think it has moved much from the last time I reviewed. It's still within the area of the box that I drew. So I think support and resistance stays the same. But recently the volume has been quite low lah. Okay, you need to be a bit cautious because there may be no trend here. I'm really not sure. Okay, because you know that there is a bull and bear fighting over here. Okay, and the volume here is high, but half of it generally are sellers. Okay, then the volume is very high here, but the next day it kind of loses out everything. So again, there's no follow through day. And then here there's high amount of sellers, and the next day, you know, it eats up almost half back of the previous day candle, while the volume is half of the previous day sellers, which, you know, is like not very logical lah. Okay, then you come up here, as you climb higher, your volume is lower. Okay, then here you have an extremely high volume with some small amount of sellers here, but the next day you lose back whatever you earn at such a low volume. For me, I don't like this kind of chart lah, because the candles look very abnormal. Okay, they look very mischievous. It kind of like tells me that, you know, it's not normal. So why would I look at something like that? Okay, that's not normal lah. Okay, so yeah. Okay, next counter, DUFU. I think DUFU, together in line with all the other tech counters, had a very high volume coming in on Friday lah. Okay, so maybe there is some possibility of tech counters coming back next week. That's what a lot of people are saying lah. Okay, so if you look at DUFU, of course, based on the moving averages, it's super bearish. Okay, this is definitely the resistance, and this is definitely the support line. It has tested 3 times. It may just hover around this box before it actually decides to finally break out lah. Okay, because if you look at it, it's still touching the resistance and support in the same number of times. That means it's basically trading within the exact same range lah. Okay, so I think you need to give some time to see whether there's anything or not. And also you need to see whether there's any follow through day or not. That means you need to see next week whether it's still up with a considerable amount of volume or not. If it's not, then most likely it isn't lah. It isn't a true uptrend lah. Okay, Aeon credit, I don't think it's good. Wait okay, generally in the long term trend is still bearish. Okay, from about, well, if you follow the long-term downtrend, it seems there's still quite a lot of room to rally before it gets rejected. Wow, what is the share split? Okay, I don't follow this stock, sorry, so I'm not so sure what's happening. Okay. Okay, so if you look at here, it looks like it's forming a higher lows, except this one, this gap down candle. I don't know what happened here. And then if you look at here, it looks more like it's sideways. Okay, it looks more like it's down, then coming back down. For me, I think it's sideways. I don't think there's much to see. There's also only 81 million shares float, lower than another stock that I reviewed just now, which has about 100 million plus. It's going to be quite volatile lah. Okay, it may be a good thing to actually split so that there's more shares float in the market, and the price will be a bit more stable lah. Okay, it doesn't move so erratically. Okay, so support and resistance wise, I think of course this will be a support, and of course your resistance is actually a range because it's too volatile lah. I will prefer this as the range. No, I think this one is better. Okay, A, B, and B. I really think it's downtrend, or it's kind of confused in a sideways manner lah. Okay, I don't see a trend here. Okay, but you see here is like double bottom, then it goes up, and then it comes back down, piercing through the previous resistance level, and then here when it attempts to break out, it fails, and the next day there's a high volume. I don't know what happened here. Then now it's slowly rallying higher. For me, it's kind of sideways lah. I don't really think there's much to see in the counter for now. Okay, long term wise, I think it's still uptrend like this. It looks quite accurate lah, the trend lines. Short term wise, I don't think there's much to see lah. Okay, EWIN. Okay, like I mentioned before previously, there's not much data because of the dividend adjustment. But now I think it's not bad already lah. Okay, sorry, not to say not bad. Okay lah, not bad in the sense that there is a there is like some kind of trend already lah. Okay, like I think it's going down now. It doesn't really look like it's going uptrend. It looks like it's going lower. Okay, and I think you need some time lah. Okay, it's already below the previous support and it's forming lower lows. Okay, so you see, if I just draw a trend line over here, then you will get something like this. Okay, it doesn't look that good lah. It looks like it's slowly going down. Okay, but you need to know that property is not really in that big amount of trend like it was previously, like when you rallied like this lah. Okay, so maybe you need to give some time for it. Okay, J Tiasa. I think plantation counter is in trend. I think next week FCPO and stuffs may be in demand lah. I think FCPO may be in trend. Plantation counters are generally, I think, doing better. Okay, but JTSA, even though it looks quite good, it looks like quite stable, but it's kind of forming lower lows and lower highs unless this is able to break above this level lah, 0.925. Okay, so I think you need to give some time to see whether it proves itself or not. But one thing I don't really like about JTSA's chart is it doesn't know how to form a good base. Okay, so like you see previously, you know, these are like, you know, not bad, quite good, this base, you know, wash out, then push up and hover around the area and then push up. Then but recently all the pullbacks are just a sharp V lah, which are something that I don't really like because there's not much time for you to wash out the weak retailers. Okay, so for me, I don't really like JTSA mainly because of that. But other than that, I think in terms of just looking at the chart without the corrections and everything, I think JTSA's chart looks not bad lah, quite good. Okay, next is LNG, another counter which I really got no comments because there's literally no volume coming in. Okay, your high volume came in here, 54 million, another high volume coming in here, 51 million, and then it came back down. Notice that the level now is actually already below the day that there was 54 million volume. So basically it's telling you it's already below the amount of funds that came in on this day lah. Okay, and if you look back at the chart, there's basically been 0 trades. Okay, that's extremely low, and it has been just sideways all the way. So I apologize, I really don't know what to recommend or review for charts like this lah. Okay, so that'll be all for my chart review this week. Disclaimer before we end the session, this entire video is just for educational purpose only, and I'm doing a chart review. The stocks mentioned are just for educational purpose only. None of them should be considered a buy or sell call, and if you require a buy or sell call, please look for your licensed remisier or financial advisor. Okay, In conclusion, I think the Malaysian market is doing quite well. Generally, most stocks have some buying power. Okay. The general index around the globe, I think since Monday has been doing quite well as well, since US published their data, which supports the possibility of no further rate hikes. Okay, that means they will start rate cutting lah. But you need to keep in mind that all major stocks and indexes are actually still on a major downtrend. That means their major trend is still down, while they have some relief rallies at the moment. Relief rallies will only turn into a trend reversal after it's able to prove itself. Okay, so as of now, I don't think it has been able to prove itself yet. I think it still needs about a week or two's time to actually prove which side it's actually on, whether it's actually bearish bias or bullish bias. Okay, so I think that will require some time. Okay, so other than that, I don't think there's anything else lah. Okay, I think if you still need more information, you can refer back to my case studies video, which also will be published today lah. Okay, so that will be all for today. Thank you. Take care and trade well next week. Bye bye.